This June, meet us in Amman, Jordan for the Sell Source MENA conference. In this video, I'm going to be interviewing Talal Asad, who is the founder of Brand Together, an omni-channel e-commerce agency based in the US. Talal is originally from Jordan, and he decided to do this event for sellers in the region that are looking to expand on Amazon, either locally in the Middle East or the US. So if you've ever thought about what are the right things to do and the necessary steps in order to launch products on Amazon in the US, then this is the summit for you. Watch my full interview with Talal, where we discuss the Sell Source Summit, who should attend, how you can attend, and all of your questions answered. Let's get going. Talal, I'm so excited to tell everyone about Sell Source MENA that's happening this year on June 13th and 14th in Jordan, in Amman in Jordan. So let's get started and let's tell everyone about Sell Source. What is it exactly? How did you come up with the concept? And I've got a lot of questions, but let's start with what is Sell Source? How did you come up with the concept? You're doing it in partnership with whom and why Jordan?
Hey, Crystal, thank you so much for having me. We decided to, I had this idea maybe 5 or 6 years ago, back when Jordan and the United States have a free trade agreement with one another. And I was always wondering, like, why isn't Jordan more on the map for people to help source product? And so in the last few years, we started to notice that there's been a big push of like diversifying your supply chain. And I think COVID really woke a lot of people up to realizing that you can't put all of your eggs in one country's basket. Why not look for alternative places to source? And you started to notice that a lot more people are doing like Mexico and Vietnam and India. So all of these countries now have big sourcing trips. And so I was wondering, I came back to what I was thinking, 5, 6 years ago, and I was like, oh, what about Jordan again, with this free trade agreement? So I went through and I talked to a lot of people and I said, why don't we do this? And, you asked a lot of people in Jordan and they were like, no one wants to do this. Like, it's too much. It's too like, you don't understand. Dealing with Jordan is very difficult and it's not an easy thing. And that's why only big companies do it. But what was great is I had a chance encounter from a friend of a friend. She introduced me to the American Chamber of Commerce CEO in Jordan. Her name is Ragad. And she sat me down and we had a meeting and she said, yes, this is a great idea. Like, let's do it. And I was really excited to finally hear someone positive and saying, yes, let's go do it. And she's like, we do this all the time. We do programming for these different companies that, they're in our network, and even companies outside of our network. We train them up and we teach them how can we get more trade, bilateral trade between the United States to Jordan, and then vice versa, getting Jordan to the United States. And that was what the American Chamber's kind of mission, one of their missions when it's in Jordan. So after speaking with them, and she took me around to go meet with all of these different people, like same day. It was amazing. She's such a go-getter. She's like, get in my car. We're going right now. I have 3 people I want you to meet. And this was back in December. And so we went around and it turned out from this, it was like something that we said that we were just going to do and find a good group of people to do this together. And that's where it was born. We wanted to make a really big cultural trip and make it 7 days, but we realized for the very first one, we want to go and actually make this much more educational. And we want to train the suppliers on one of the day of like what we're looking for as e-commerce sellers. Mm-hmm. And on the second day, we want to train the sellers in the region. And please note that this is not just limited to people in Jordan. So if you have any viewers,
what I was going to ask. Yes.
Yeah, anyone who's listening right now that's going to be in the region anyway for the e-commerce event in Turkey, or or just in the region in general, you are more than welcome and invited to come to the seller or the sourcing part of it too, and come in and talk. And if there's anyone who wants to even discuss their successes of selling in the US or in AE or in SA, please, let us know. We'd be happy to do that as well. So it's going to be full day events. We're going to be talking about all the fun stuff, and we're going to, you're a panelist and you're going to be speaking on a workshop, and Amy Weiss. Oh, I forgot to mention, this is also with Amy Weiss from Amazing at Home. And Amy Weiss, if you've seen her around the internet, she's an incredible sourcing expert, and she's a great seller, and she does this trip in Mexico, and she does this trip in China as well. She takes people. So she's one of the best sourcing people out there. So Amy Weiss, myself, Crystal, and the American Chamber of Commerce, we're all going to be doing this in partnership with each other.
So would it be fair to say that the event is mostly focused for current Amazon sellers, or would it be also interesting for somebody that's looking to get started on Amazon as well?
Yeah, that's a great question. And it's something that we actually notice a lot when we do a lot of these events is we always have the intent of the event of making it for people who are already selling, but there's always a good 20 to 30% of people who have never even started selling and are so excited that they got intermediate and like advanced level stuff first. And so they come back, and then when they launch, they said, oh, you know, now that I'm launching or now I'm thinking of selling, I understand what's going on here. So this is going to be good for everyone, especially because a lot of what we're doing, we're going to be talking a lot about like knowing your numbers and margin and the importance of product inspection and reviews and why getting the product correct the first time is very important and how to differentiate your product. So I would say that this is going to be open for anyone.
Perfect. Would it and you know, one of the reasons why I'm so excited is because even though we're hosting the event in Jordan, it's not going to be just for the MENA or Middle East region. Because as you know and you're aware, we've got a lot of entrepreneurs in the Middle East. Some people are currently selling in the Middle East region on Amazon in particular, others are not. But the event is going to talk about all of Amazon's marketplaces, but mostly focused on the US market as well.
Correct. Yeah, I would say that, you know, I'm more of an expert on the US market, so I'm just going to be a lot more comfortable talking about the US market. But yes, you know, a lot of what we're going to be discussing is going to be general that would work across marketplace strategies. You know, it's not just like a focus on the US marketplace strategies. One thing that I'm very excited about, though, is the part that's going to be discussing about like the Middle Eastern marketplaces, right? And like listening to you kind of talk about when we talk through something and say, you know, that's great and it works here, but you have to tweak it like this for selling in SA or selling in AE. And if we have anybody who's selling in the European marketplace, which I'm sure people are going to be, like, it would be great to hear their perspective as well. So that's the beauty about being in the Middle East, right? Is like you're so regioned to be able to go and hit both of these places pretty equally, whether you're selling in the EU or in .com or in the Middle East regions.
So that's about selling. But what about the next day, which is going to be focused on suppliers and sourcing? Who is that? You know, who are you trying to target during that day, and who can potentially attend?
Yeah, so that day is really a lot of training for people who are current manufacturers of product. A lot of the time they have already done and dealt with selling into the US and doing the tariffs and the customs and you know all of the stuff that has to go through that. But there a lot of times are selling at a much higher level or selling through wholesalers. Not very many people are like selling direct to a private label manufacturer who wants to customize the product, or someone who wants to create a new line extension. Like, let's say, you know, we're going to have people who are going to be selling paper products. And a lot of times I don't know if, you know this, Crystal, because you grew up in the region as I did, but like our notebooks are kind of funky looking, right? Like there's like the way the spirals are or where the line indents are sometimes like 3/4 of the way in the page. And so just getting a product as they have and like selling it me too and saying, okay, I manufacture this, why can't I just sell it in the US? We really want to tell people like there's a little bit more complication than that. Like we want to open our suppliers' minds into being amenable and ready to do product innovation and do things that people are looking for. And then they're going to say, well, how do you know people are looking for that? So we're going to taking a data approach and we're going to show them, you know, this is all the information that Amazon feeds us. And this is the information that we can get from Helium-10 and from Data Dive and from Carbon-6 and, you know, all the different sources of information. And like, this is how we decide, or how I would say how not wholesalers, top private label sellers are deciding like what they want and what products they want to get done. So we're going to be doing the whole span of things, from how to be professional in discussing with, you know, smaller, or how to deal with smaller companies, and all the way to like having a discussion about like the tariffs and it's free trade, right? But like how to, you know, do the labeling requirements and everything to make sure everything is fitting through. So this is going to be a very intensive day, literally touching upon anything that's supply related.
So, Talal, what about the language? Obviously, this is, you know, all of us speak fluent English, but a lot of people might be a little bit more comfortable in Arabic. Is it going to be you know, are there going to be any translation happening? What about the language?
Yeah, so the language is going to be primarily in English. That is just the language I'm comfortable in. That's the only language Amy knows, right? But we will have support from the American Chamber of Commerce will be there. And if they do need to translate things, we probably will end up recording the sessions. And, you know, maybe the initial instruction might all be in English, and we might be able to take questions in Arabic and get them translated back and forth. But if the sessions are being recorded, they can always be like redubbed in Arabic if we notice that there is a big need for it.
Perfect. And I'm there also to support
And
all Arabic translations. So no worries there. Don't worry, guys. Just register. So with that being said, how many people is this open to? Is this going to be like a really big event, or is it very intimate where people can talk to each other one-on-one and get like really lots of information? And second part of the question is, how do they register?
Yeah, so we definitely have not been blasting this, you know, everywhere and trying to make this like the next big event. This will be a much more intimate event than if you go to the huge events, like this is no Prosper. Let's just put it that way. These are going to be much, much smaller. You know, we're expecting really a couple dozen sellers. There's not very many sellers in Jordan. There's only 90 registered addresses in the whole country. And of those addresses, there's literally like Starbucks and Lavazza, right? And like bigger companies so some of those addresses aren't even like what I would consider like a true seller, like one of us, you know? So yeah, we're thinking that this is going to be a pretty small group of people. But we do have room for up to 50. So that's what we're excited about. That's on the seller side. On the supplier side, it's going to be a little bit bigger. We're going to have probably between 50 and 100 different suppliers or people in the supply chain that are assisting this thing. In order to register, sellandsourceme.com. That's sellandsourceme.com. We'll just put it on. I forgot that you can do all of the editing stuff. I'm on the phone in an answering machine in the 90s. We'll put a registration link on there as well. Right now there was no one. We were just handling them one-on-one, but by the time this gets published, we'll have a registration link.
Perfect. Thank you so much to Talal for this time. If you want to join me, Talal, Amy, and all of the other speakers and the team at Sell and Source MENA, make sure that you check the link right here, or just check the description box of this video. I'll see you hopefully in Jordan, or I'll see you soon. Bye.